Hello, and you're all very welcome along to the latest episode of Champ.ie's Road to Cheltenham Challenge, brought to you in association with Boylesports, Gowran Park Racecourse and Syndicates.Racing. Talking all things Cheltenham, the top performances over the 7 days, and answering your hashtag big questions every Monday. Barry and Rona will once again go head to head by giving one Ante-Post selection each week until the 2024 festival in March.
It is Lossiemouth who has the lead at the last. Lossiemouth is over by 2 lengths from centre. Then Gowran with 200 yards to race. It is Lossiemouth at the moment keeping up the gallop, keeping a 2-length advantage over Gowran, who's moved past centre, but neither will move past Lossiemouth, who wins the JCB Triumph Hurdle.
Showing over 44 points profit and 132 point stake since 2020, the Champ.ie Road to Cheltenham Challenge show is this season bidding to secure 4 years of Ante-Post profit in a row. The lads look forward to discussing your selection this week, and don't forget it's important to update your full Ante-Post portfolio in the comments to help us keep track. Give this video a like for more Cheltenham content, and be sure to subscribe to the Champ.ie YouTube channel, Ireland's premier racing podcast. Enjoy the show.
Boylesports. Don't just bet, choose wisely.
So, hello and welcome back to episode number 9 of the Road to Cheltenham Challenge with myself and the Doyle and Groome. And of course, show proudly in association with Boylesports, our betting partner, Syndicates.Racing and Gowran Park, the premier racecourse in the southeast of Ireland. So, Ronan Groome, you were racing at Fairyhouse this weekend. Of course, we're 8 weeks out now to the Cheltenham Festival as of tomorrow. We're recording obviously on Monday. And this episode number 9, we're going to get the 20 episodes in. We might have another episode prior to the Dublin Racing Festival, a Brucey boneless, if you like. But we will get to the 20 episodes. People seem to really enjoy last week's show as well. With obviously, we had plenty of talking points. You 10 questions for me, I had 10 questions for you. And that format seemed to go down pretty well with the viewers, the loyal listeners.
Yeah, people seem to enjoy it. Thanks for getting back to us and letting us know. I suppose you're trying to fill these months with January when it's a bit quiet, with the Dublin Racing Festival kind of taking all the good racing, I suppose, that used to be early in January, and it's a bit quiet over in Britain as well till Trials Day rolls around. So I suppose we had time to do something new there. So it was nice that people enjoyed it, and I'm sure we'll do it again.
Yes, and of course we do have plenty of really decent plans in terms of content for Cheltenham, and we'll be announcing those in the next couple of episodes as well. And of course, Gowran Park on the 25th. Don't forget, you can still get your early bird tickets. Save 25% if you're getting yourself down to the big day in the southeast on the 25th of January. All you have to do is scan the QR code up on screens to buy your tickets nice and early. And of course, we did have. You landed an app on the Thursday show. Ronan Groome will be building up this weekend to the Clarence House and our Tayestes preview. Very much a local feel to this online preview. Plans in preparation on Tuesday the 23rd. It will be live for 8 p.m. So lots to look forward to, and we'll be keeping you updated every single episode on what's happening on the Champ.ie channel. But Ronan, as we do every single week, we're going to start with the star ratings for performances, the big performances this week, and there was some of them, and we'll kick it off with yourself. You've taken a look at 3. I've taken a look at 3. You're looking at Reading Tommy Wrong, Banbridge, and Hunter's Yarn. I've looked at the McManus Duo, Spillans Tower, Mystical Power, and Grey Dawning. But why don't you kick us off? Reading Tommy Wrong, a surprise winner.
Yeah, look, I was there at Naas. I think it rode a really good race. Really strong. The Atlantic went out in front. Firefox looked to travel like a good thing, didn't he? And jumped really well. And you're thinking he's just going to come there and it's going to be a right race on the straight. But he faded back a bit. And it looked like the Atlantic at one stage was going to win and had the measure of this Reading Tommy Wrong. But his challenge was persistent. And it was a real strong staying performance, I think, that won the day. Talking to Willie Mullins after, he was chatting to us even, and he was saying, look, I think Darryl Jacob gave him a real cute ride. He kind of rode in behind, let the others kind of take the early heat into the race, and Reading Tommy Wrong has just produced a nice ride, nicely timed challenge, and got up and nabbed Il Atlantique on the line, and the two of them have come nicely clear of Lecky Watson, who incidentally I'm sure you'll mention in a bit, ran a lovely race in third. I think he'd be still a real outside chance in the Albert Bartlett. I think he's really interesting for that. But just the winner, I thought was, it's a big step up on what he did at Cork. I think he was a bit underrated on that, or probably rightfully rated the way he was, because he did have to work there. I know Lisnagar Fortune won yesterday at Punchestown, so the form took a bit of a boost in that way, but he still had a big step up in trip, and I think his price was right going into the race, and he's just taken that big step up and he's improved. And I just gave him 4.5 stars because of that step up he's took, and he's loads of scope to improve again. It was a really strong race in my opinion. I thought it was probably the best Grade 1 run in Ireland or Britain this season. Never mind my opinion, that was the opinion of Willie Mullins after as well. And where he'll go now, maybe the Ballymore, maybe the Albert Bartlett. I said he's a real strong stayer, but he's definitely a live player for either of those Grade 1s. And I thought it was good.
Yeah, Lecky Watson, just to pick up on him, because obviously he was the selection last week for the Albert Bartlett. Obviously he was entered up in the Lawlers, and I think it's exactly what you wanted to see as well, Ronan, Lecky Watson, given the fact that I suppose he was quite keen early. Danny Mullins was obviously on board, and Willie Mullins made reference to that afterwards. And I see people mentioning, the Shrewds mentioning potential Martin Pipe, but he's run a really good race twice now in graded company, and he certainly didn't look like he was trying for a marathon.
Still doing plenty wrong, isn't he? He's still kind of racing too freely and racing in snatches and that sort of thing. I think in a bigger field you'll see him to a better effect. The Martin Pipe is definitely a live possibility, isn't it?
Well, it's on the Friday at Cheltenham. I think that's definitely where you're going to see him. It obviously depends what type of mark he gets, but I just have that feeling that they'll go down the graded route with him, and I think there's more to come from him up to 3 miles in a stronger run race on the new course at Cheltenham, where he's that big long straight, more of a stamina test. Obviously he'll have that big long straight to run at, and I think the better the race, the better his jumping is going to be. And I think he's a dour stayer, and I think, in fairness, I like the way he stuck at it as well off the back of the last. I think the front two, obviously, as you mentioned, have come clear. Ile Atlantique, very interesting. He had a contested lead early, but his sheer cruising speed got him to the lead, and his jumping as well was very, very quick, suggesting that he could obviously come back to 2 miles. You've given Reading Tommy wrong. In looking at his rating, 4.5 star. Just on Ile Atlantique as well. Travelled much the best horse, jumped the best horse in the race. Do you think ground could be key to him, i.e., soft and testing ground? It's interesting, when we did have Patrick on the show prior to Christmas, Roland, he did mention that in his bumpers, and not his first bumper, that was at Leopardstown where he beat Fairnilly, but obviously when he ran into Firefox at Fairyhouse, interesting comments I thought from Patrick Mullins. He felt as though he didn't properly let himself down on the quicker ground. Would that be, for those getting involved in Ile Atlantique for the festival, would that be a concern?
Possibly, yeah, absolutely. I think that's a valid concern, of course. But the festival, people just, I guess, have this assumption that it's going to be, quick ground or something, but it's never quick ground at the festival. It's good to soft is what they aim for. And the last few festivals, it's ended up being soft. So I tend not to, maybe rightly or wrongly, tend not to worry too much about ground for now, and that's something for closer to time, and just take that, definitely the Supreme or the Ballymore take place, their first races of the day, and they'll have the softest of the ground anyway, because if it is showing any signs of being quick, they tend to water. So I wouldn't be too pushed about that, to be honest.
Banbridge, what a performance this was. Speaking about ground, speaking about Cheltenham, obviously now he's 5-1 with our sponsors Boylesports for the Ryanair. I have to say, Roland, you've given him a 4.5 star rating. I thought it was a really good performance, but I was really, really tempted for weeks now to put up Banbridge for the Ryanair chase, given the fact that this is the route he's going to be going. JJ Slevin was very, very positive on how he's improved through the summer and how strong he looked and how he was ready to run. And it was just the ground that's why they didn't run him. He's obviously rocked up here at Kempton. I suppose anyone getting involved, Ante-Post for Cheltenham, though, 5-1, given the fact that we don't know if the soft in the ground description, it's unlikely that he'll run. Well, good to soft would probably be fine for him, but soft ground, we saw what they done last year.
Well, I learned that, had that hard experience last year when they pulled him out the morning of the Turners, and I had him at a 16-1, which would have been nice, and he probably would have went close in all known form since. So Yeah, I guess that is. They've been pretty adamant, haven't they? And they possibly could do the same again. The Melling Chase would be there for him at Aintree. But going back to his performance, I was pretty taken with this. I was against him. I backed Pic D'Orhy in the race. I thought he was the most solid of the top three there. Edwardstone included as well. I backed him on the morning, and I thought, just my reading of it was, Banbridge's first time out here, he does actually have a bit to prove as well on class. Like, if you take his win at Aintree last season, the form of that race doesn't look amazing at all, and he kind of scrambled. Well, not scrambled, but he wasn't exactly impressive. He got the job done there, beat St. Raw. He hasn't done anything this season at all, and just coming here first time out of the season, and wouldn't have been surprising me at all if he drifted or whatever, like drifted significantly. He did drift a tiny bit, but not enough to say that he wasn't fit. And I was just waiting for him in the straight, probably with my Pic D'Orhy glasses on, waiting for him to get outstayed or just show any signs of tiredness, and he didn't. He saw him off well. Obviously, the mistake from Pic D'Orhy is quite significant at the last. Maybe the result would have been different or a lot closer if he didn't make that mistake. But Banbridge has stayed on strongly on the track in a good race, and they've come 17 lengths clear of Janadil, who's probably a useful yardstick. Like, I actually hadn't checked the betting until you just said it there. 5-1 with Boylesports, and possibly a bit bigger elsewhere. Also, that sounds quite fair to me, to be honest with you. When you think about the Ryanair and the slight question marks over Allaho, whether he is at his absolute best. Stage Star blotted his copybook over Christmas, and Edwardstone as well, who would have been a player going into the race, has been quite disappointing here. Pic D'Orhy, I don't even know if he's running in the Ryanair. He seems to be one of these horses that's kept to flat tracks like Kempton and Aintree and small runner races and stuff. So 5-1 seems quite generous to me, I think. Just literally just when you said it there was the first thing I thought about.
Right, moving on to Hunter's Yarn. Willie Mullins obviously has such a super record in the Arkle, but they're falling away one by one. Mr. Policeman, very disappointing. Obviously, Facile Vega didn't jump like an Arkle horse for me at Christmas. I think he's on a recovery mission. And Marine National obviously has the measure of him. Blood Destiny obviously will come on to that performance at Punchestown. But Hunter's Yarn fell on his first start over fences. What did you make of his performance? Obviously not much by the looks of things.
No, I think he's probably a fair tool now, to be honest. But the jumping issue here is quite significant, especially if you're thinking about an Arkle with him. Like, he's absolutely walloped the second last here, and lucky to stand up and get through it. And then you're thinking, what's that going to take out of him? And he comes back on the bridle. So I'd say he's a fair machine, not a machine, but like a fair tool anyway, to be getting through that sort of an error and be able to come back on the bridle and beat a horse like Pat Thoreau 10 lengths, pretty much comfortably. I'd say he is very good, but like, he's obviously made that mistake first time out, which cost him the race, and it nearly cost him it here. And I don't know how you could back a horse like that with confidence in the Arkle, knowing that there's that big mistake in him. That's probably even more pronounced than El Fabiolo, who was on the same colours last season, and the narrative about him going into the Arkle was he has this mistake in him, but he wasn't making mistakes like this. This was quite significant. So that's why I think he's a horse of fair potential if they can sort that jumping out. But going forward, you'd want to see him again, would you? Maybe would they run him at the Dublin Racing Festival in a couple of weeks, just to see how he gets on there? But I'm not sure. Paul Townend might be looking for another option in the race, knowing that this horse has his fall. He, speaking to him after race, he basically said, I thought I was gone at the time. The horse found the leg and managed to stay up, gave it a fair whack. But to summarise, a horse of potential. Obviously, he was a good hurdler last season. Could be even better over fences, but you're not going to go far over 2 miles over fences if you jump like that and have that sort of mistake in you.
Now, speaking of 2 mile chasers, I think Blood Destiny will be a better horse back over 2 miles. He'd no excuses though for me. He was getting weight, wasn't he, at Punchestown, and just coming on to the winner, Spillans Tower, and got a bit of stick on Twitter about this off some, Ronan, that I came out afterwards and said, make no mistake, this is a grade 1 horse, and I think he will be a grade 1 horse. I think this is a horse that's absolutely riddled with ability. I thought it was a really good performance. The only reason I've docked him a half a star here run. They've gone 4.5 star for Spillane Tower is because, well, it wasn't really a grade 1. Blood Destiny had his own way of things in front. And I'd say a lot of people were disappointed that he went on Blood Destiny. He looked like the winner coming down to the second last, but I thought the winner was full value here. Obviously, this is its second when we put him in as a tracker horse. We'll come on to that section later on, Ronan. But since we put him in as a tracker horse after finishing 4th in what was a really hot beginner's chase, Facile Vega and In the Pocket, obviously we're 1st and 2nd in that beginner's chase at Navan. We put him into the tracker. He's since gone out and won twice, over 2 miles and over 2 miles and 3 furlongs now in this graded company at Punchestown on Sunday. And he's a 6-year-old son of Walk in the Park. We mentioned that sire, certainly one to follow for the remainder of the jump season. I think he could have a big season this year, Walk in the Park, and is leading the way in terms of the leading sire at the moment. But he's 2 from 4 over fences. But I just loved what he showed, Ronan, from the second last fence to the last. I loved the way he picked up there. I loved the way he settled off a solid pace. He was always making ground at his fences. That's what I liked about him. I mean, he was held up off the pace. Blood Destiny had no excuses, as I said. He jumped, maybe not as good as last time, but he had his own way of things up front, and they went a strong enough pace in this. But he's a serious jumper of a fence, this Spillane Tower, and he almost jumped his way into contention. The trip was probably plenty short for him. I think long-term he's going to be a 3-miler, and maybe they'll keep him at 2.5 miles, avoid the likes of Cheltenham and Aintree. And could he be one for maybe that grade 1 novice over 2.5 miles at Fairyhouse? All his forms on soft ground as well. What did you make of it?
I thought it was quite good. I didn't see the race live, and I saw the message from you come in, hyping this beast up. And usually you tend to get overexcited, Basil. So I did watch the race with that in my head, thinking this is probably not going to be as good as he's making it out. But it actually was quite good. I thought it was quite impressive.
That's an awful thing to brand me with.
He travelled nicely. He reminded me of, do you remember Indiana Dream at Navan when we were talking about that? Kind of the way he travelled into the race and has ended up winning comfortably. You know, your eye was drawn to Blood Destiny all the time, thinking how well is he jumping in front. I'd say he traded quite low. I don't know. He was obviously a short price to begin with Blood Destiny, but I'd say he traded quite low in the run. He just seemed to be in a nice rhythm up front again, just like he was at Naas. But he's ended up just getting comfortably outstayed here later on, possibly outclassed as well by this Spillane Tower. And I was pretty taken with it now. I thought it was pretty good. I wonder, do you just mitigate the form slightly through the mare in 3rd? I don't know what your opinion is on that. She, you could make a case that she is a much better mare over fences. She beat Harmonia Maker and Hauturier in a mare's chase at Cork the last time, and Hauturier has come out and give that form.
I think what I like about Spillane Tower, Ronan, just to answer that, is it was very much an away match for him. I mean, he's not a 2 mile 3 furlong. He's not a 2.5 mile horse, and he's held up. He's jumped his way into contention. He's been given a very gentle ride, and suddenly he's just come there approaching the last. And I'd say he surprised Mark Walsh the way he just took off. He steadied him into the last. It was the one jump he didn't make ground at. As I mentioned, he didn't land running, and though he's just sprinted off the back of the last. And picked up to go away and beat Blood Destiny, who he was getting weight off. And the mare's obviously, was she a 4-length winner down at Cork, I believe, beating Harmonia Maker, who had conditions in her favour on that occasion. I just thought there's a lot more to come from this horse, in particular when he steps up and trip. And I think this horse can be very competitive in Grade 1 company in time, given the fullness of time. So
yeah, I appreciate that. I would just have a slight question mark over the mare in 3rd. I'm not sure. She's. I wouldn't look at that as positive at all. I think she was winning. She was beaten in a mare's maiden hurdle there in October. She only has a rating of 109 over hurdles. I'd be just slightly mitigating the form slightly. Maybe I'm wrong, but I did like the performance. I liked the way he did it, but maybe just a slight question mark over.
I thought he was a big eye catcher. I thought he ran well for a long way behind the likes of In the Pocket and Facile Vega up at Navan. And to use the phrase, I'm not entirely sure how much he was put into the race on that occasion. He's obviously progressed with every run since, and yeah, I kind of like him. Mystical Power, obviously. Not so much impressed by him, Ronan, given the fact that he's far from the finished article. He's gone clear favourite now for the Supreme off the back of it. I've given him a 3.5 star rating here. I'd say there's been stronger maidens run in Ireland this year than this Moscow Flyer Grade 2 at Punchestown. It's a 4-runner race. And, I mean, people talk about the Moscow Flyer at Punchestown like it's the Goblet of Fire. And that it's, you go to see Cheltenham Festival winners galore. It's only produced one Cheltenham Festival winner in the last 8 years, since the likes of Vettura and Douvan. I think it was 2015. Douvan won the race. Everyone thinks who's declared for the Moscow Flyers automatically Willie Mullins is number 1 horse for the Supreme. I don't know. It's going to be a big step up, a Supreme Novice Hurdle. The second Gigaro was obviously impressive. You were up at Navan that day when he won. But I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure I'd be falling over backwards now to get money on him for the Supreme Novice Hurdle. In actual fact, I would have thought that Ballyburn was more of a Supreme horse and that Mystical Power could be one that they could step up and trip, given the fact that Galileo is by Galileo. You don't see too many Cheltenham Festival winners sired by Galileo. Windsor Park, I think, was the last, and he won the Ballymore. So it's just interesting. I think far from the finished article, as mentioned, Roland, I mentioned, you know, how keen he was early in the race. He was quite keen. He made a mistake, I think, at 3 of the first 4 hurdles. I mean, if he makes mistakes early in a Supreme Novice Hurdle where they're going lickety-split, you know, he's going to be under pressure in a race like that.
I tend to agree. I think that I'm pretty certain of that, actually. And I have a fair idea who I think is going to be the Supreme horse, which we'll get on to later on in the show. But going to him, just analysing the race from what you've seen, he did a lot wrong early in the race again. Like, he was a bit keen. He didn't jump as nicely as he could do in a Grade 2, but he still came there travelling smoothly and won very comfortably. Now, what he's beat in behind, I would question as well. Gigaro, we won nicely at Navan, but that was the same card as Caldwell Potter. And my whole thing about Caldwell Potter that time when I started latching onto him was he was 12 seconds faster than Gigaro in his maiden hurdle. So I'm not saying that, like, obviously race context is everything with time and stuff, and it doesn't mean Gigaro was unimpressive. It was just a function of the race that he was in, perhaps. And he probably is a nice horse going forward, but bar him in behind them, the others have kind of, you know, fallen away.
Quick question for you in relation to a Supreme Novices Hurdle. What do you think are the 3 top attributes you need to be a Supreme Novice Hurdle winner? For me, I'll go with that. I think you need to be able to jump very, very well throughout the race. I think you need to have a really high cruising speed and enough tactical pace to hold your position in a Supreme Novices Hurdle. We saw that with the likes of Shishkin. He got outpaced. How he won that Supreme, I'll never know. He obviously had a huge engine, Shishkin, but I think you need to be able to hold your position and have enough tactical pace, particularly in that third quarter of the race. And we saw with Mystical Power, that's where he hit his flat spot. That's where he was outpaced. I think that the third and main attribute you need to be able to stay very, very strongly and come up the hill. That aspect, he won't lack for that. But I'd just be worried about the other 2. And for me, I think Ballyburn would tick more of those boxes. But it'll be very interesting to see how it transpires. But that's just the way I read it. That's the way I see it from looking at it.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. Like, Stamina is so underrated in the Supreme. Year on year, it seems. They just get racing earlier. You need to stay strongly in the way. It's just the configuration of the track. They just get racing earlier, and it's the first race of the festival. Often it's just a case of everyone's buzzed up, and they go faster maybe than they should be, and it just ends up being a very, very strong test at the trip. Just like with him, with Mystical Power, a little bit of an insight. I speaking to Willie Mullins, just had to get a quick quote off him for a preview after the Lawlers, so just grabbed him before he was going up to get his prize. And I was just quickly, Willie, what about Mystical Power in this Moscow Flyer on Sunday? I said, you were going to run him here? And he said, yeah, we were going to run him here, but we just thought we'd go for the Moscow Flyer. It's a lot weaker race than this, as you can see from that race there, and I'd be slightly worried about going down and trip, but we're taking our chance, etc. So it just gave me a bit of an insight that even in Willie's head, that Moscow Flyer didn't look a strong a race, looked a good option for him, and that he might be that sort of stayer at least 1.5 miles, which be a positive. All we've just said in Supreme. So looking short, I think like you can grab the form, but it was also his first run in 167 days, and he did this in a Grade 2, and he won quite comfortably. So I can see why people are latching onto him, and he's gone into a relatively short price. You have to remember as well, JP McManus has Jericho the Repinite for the Supreme, so maybe he might want to split them up.
It'll be fascinating. I think that's what David Casey said, didn't he, afterwards, that Connections might just want this to split them up. But Grey Dawning, 7-year-old son of Flemensford, should I say, and it was very much a home match for him, wasn't it? Obviously, he was a Grade A winner over hurdles at Warwick on the exact same card last season. He clearly loves the mud. Skelton's, the form of the stable over the weekend took a big boost. 6 winners on Saturday for Team Skelton. So that yard is starting to really come into form. But I've given him a 4-star rating simply because he'd done absolutely 0 wrong. And he seemed to really enjoy that, I suppose, that end-to-end even gallop. And I think that's key to a horse like Grey Dawning. Apples away. Well, she won the argument, didn't she? With Broadway Boy, who's fallen out the back of the television. One of them had to come out like that, given how hard they went early on. And it was interesting speaking to Derek Fox, of course, on the Thursday show. He thinks this mare is very, very good. So I wouldn't give up on her. And I think she could be a player in something like the Brown Advisory in the spring, a little bit of nicer ground, apple away. And I think the race probably set up for Grey Dawning. I'm not sure your thoughts, but I wouldn't go any more than a 4-star rating with Grey Dawning.
I think that's fair. Maybe it was a function of the race, the way he looked so impressive. But it was whatever way you weigh it up, was a good, strong, staying performance, and he jumped well. I was reading beforehand; it seemed to be Dan Skelton had been targeting this race a long time out. Maybe this was his Cheltenham, I suppose. But you can't. I'm sure they're looking at the race and go, now we'll bounce onto the Brown Advisory, and why wouldn't they? It was a real strong staying performance. He should have won at Cheltenham the time before when he belted the second last, and in that case he'd have reeled off 3 wins in a row, and that was he's scoped to improve further over 3 miles as well. Clearly stays well. That's all banked now, so I'd be pretty impressed with him. It's shaping up to be a very nice Brown Advisory.
Yeah, it certainly is. I think 2 things need questioning, though, on the race. Number one, it was obviously the way the jockeys set off from the start, Sam Twiston Davis and Patrick Wadge. I thought it was kamikaze tactics from both. And I think the campaigning as well of Broadway Boy, I'm not entirely sure this was the right race for Broadway Boy, given his record at Cheltenham, given the fact that he'd a very, very hard race in handicap company against seasoned handicappers. Don't forget, he's only 5 years of age. And to come here straight away after that performance off a big weight and a handicap, I thought was a big ask. So I questioned the campaigning very much at Broadway Boy as well. But in terms of the winner, 4-star rating for me.
Gowran Park Racecourse, the premier racetrack in the southeast of Ireland, is located on the outskirts of Kilkenny City. Gowran is your #1 choice for corporate days out, stag and hen party events, and an overall great local racing experience. Known as the race that stops the county, the famous Goffs Thyestes Chase 2024 takes place on Thursday the 25th of January.
In the finish of the Goffs Thyestes, invitation only, and Ruby Walsh on the near side for Willie Mullen's 7th win of the race. Invitation only has beaten Outfitters Opus.
With packed crowds expected once again this January, you can book your early bird tickets online today. Visit GowranPark.ie online, click the link in the Champ.ie podcast video description, or scan the QR code on screen to purchase right now. Eddie and the team look forward to welcoming you all to Gowran Park Racecourse this winter.
Justified favouritism, but sharp object out in front, we're ready for John McConnell and Alex Harvey.
Western victory, Silver Lord, never beat the finishing order.
Section of the show, Ronan Groome, and you've been tasked by one of our viewers, and he's come back again a second time because we didn't answer it the first time he asked the question, but he's going to ask it again. Boys, I've never been to Ireland at all. So he's never been to Ireland in his life, but he's coming over, himself and the missus, for the Dublin Racing Festival, and he's going racing on the Saturday. And obviously he's had this on the bucket list, and he's looking for advice on where to stay in Dublin and general tips. So, Ronan Groome, you're the travel expert. Certainly when it comes to Dublin, you've lived up in Dublin. You attended a lot of the race meetings up in Dublin. I'm going to ask you to do up an itinerary, or talk us through, I suppose, the pointers that you will give Puff of the Potsy in relation to a trip to the DRF. And I've taken a twist on this question. And Gowran Park, obviously, the Tayestes chase for anyone coming from far and wide on the 25th of January. I'm going to give some tips on heading to Gowran Park on the 25th and I suppose an itinerary, a travel itinerary. So this has now become the Champ.ie travel blog, Ronan Groome. Over to you.
Yeah, apologies, Puffer. We just missed this last week. Forgot to do it, but fair play. You and an army of British racegoers seem to be coming over for the Dublin Racing Festival, which is great. The Irish Festival is getting a lot more popular as an option, and probably just a lot better valued in Cheltenham when it comes to it, I suppose. If I don't know where you're staying, Puffer, which probably does make a difference from where I want to go, but I've stayed central Dublin. So for the breakfast on Saturday morning, when you wake up, I want you to go down to a place called Taste Food Company on South William Street. Absolutely exquisite options in there. Get the fry in there. The pancakes, very good. Very central to town. I don't know if you plan on having a cheeky swift one then before you go to the races, but Syndicates Bar there, just opposite St. Stephen's Green off Grafton Street, opposite the Gatey. That's a grand little spot. It'll probably have sport on, like if there's an early football game on, you can catch that a bit of there, the first half in there, have a pint. And then all you have to do is jump on the Lewis there in St. Stephen's Green. You're probably about 35 minutes down to Leopardstown then on the Lewis. The Lewis, and if you don't know, is a tram system in Dublin. It's our only kind of form of railway, I suppose, which is an absolute travesty in itself, but we won't get into that. Get off the Lewis, and then Leopardstown very kindly or very generously have put on a shuttle bus for everyone that gets off the Lewis. So you just have to jump on that and it brings you up to the course. Otherwise, it's about a 20-minute walk, but don't bother yourself. You want to save your steps for the actual race course, walking around the bars and stuff like that. So where are you going? Leopardstown, I don't know, Basil. Maybe you can chime in here and I can take it back up off you. But the Madigan's bar underneath the main stand is probably decent enough. There's a few other bars kind of scattered around the course. Last time we were there together, it was an absolute sham getting a drink, but they haven't.
The last time I was at the Dublin Racing Festival, I think I had the racing blogger in the headlock inside in the tent. They do a really good, there's always a live band. People stick around for quite a long time as well after the racing. So I would actually recommend staying on course after the racing, certainly for an hour or two before making your way into the city centre. Flannery's is always a good pub, obviously, to go to before maybe facing her for the likes of Coppers if you want a long night. Well, obviously, if you're the woman, you're probably not going to go to Coppers.
Definitely stay on in Leopardstown in the tent for a bit. There's good crack there. They'll probably have a band, live music. Then jump back on the Lewis. Probably might have to. No, they still do the shuttle bus down to the Lewis. Depends how late you leave the racecourse, I guess. Or else you might have to walk down. Then you can get off in town. And any of these pubs, Puffa, are all. This is like my absolute top 5 pubs in Dublin. Keogh's off Grafton Street, great spot. Neary's is the other side of Grafton Street, just another street off. You'll be getting off at St. Stephen's Green, so all these places are within 5 minutes. The Long Hall is an absolute beautiful bar in Dublin. These are all within 5 minutes of when you get off. The Palace Bar, if you were so inclined to go down to Temple Bar now, maybe this appeals to the Brits coming over and basically anyone who's not from Ireland, but I'd be allergic to going to anywhere near Temple Bar. But the Palace Bar in Temple Bar would probably be just about acceptable. It's quite an old bar and very nice inside. Good pint of Guinness. I wouldn't be a Guinness drinker myself, but apparently it's good pint of Guinness. And then if you would want to travel, if you're anywhere in the vicinity of North Dublin where you're by Drumcondra or even Stony Bar, Walsh's and Stony Bar is probably my favourite pub in Dublin. That used to be my local just down around the corner, and that's a great spot. So there you have any amount of bars.
Two things, Ronan. Two things. First of all, you mentioned the breakfast. Beans are banned That's only for English breakfast, so you're not allowed beans on the fry, and as well as that Clonakilty black
You'll
pudding.
get beans and toast, Buffett. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, well, no beans on my fry up. The other thing as well is it depends on your budget, but you could always get a long taxi back to the Lower Bagnall, help Willie count the trophies. And that probably brings me on to the big day in the southeast, the 25th. And here's the itinerary, Ronan Groome. If anyone making their way from far and wide to Tayeste's Day, and I know it's on plenty of bucket lists for people, but it's the big day in the southeast. And I would suggest book in nice and early. Stay in the Lower Bagnall Hotel if you can. That's obviously the big. It's in a lovely little village, just about 8 kilometres outside Bagnallstown. It's a place called Loughlin Bridge, and it's on the river. Beautiful scenery, and it's a big racing hotel in the region. It's very, very famous. James Keogh will look after you very, very well there. So it's always good if you're making your way down from the airport. If you have an early flight, etc., you could always check in early. I'm sure they'd hold on to your bags for you. And you could always get the breakfast there before. It depends what you want, Ronan. Do you want a quiet point before the racing? I think a little bit off the beaten track, but you could go into Bagnallstown, Lawler's Pub, Mary. It's probably, you were in the pub before on my stag, probably the best pint of Guinness in the southeast. And it is a racing pub, but it wouldn't be as busy perhaps as maybe going straight to Gowran Park, where you could go to either Clears or O'Loughlin's, both big racing pubs in Gowran if you wanted, but probably going to be a little bit more busier on Tayeste's Day. So if you wanted to go somewhere off the beaten track, I think into Lawler's in Bagnallstown, it's about 15 to 20 minutes via taxi away from the course. And obviously straight to the races. There's a shuttle bus as well, Ronan, going from Gowran Park into Kilkenny. And I would recommend going into Kilkenny because it's a brilliant city. It depends if you had a couple of nice winners. I think book yourself into the nicest Italian in the whole of Ireland, Rinuccini's, Ronan Groome. A fantastic Italian. Tell Riccardo I was asking for him. Book in nice and early. It's across from the castle. Brilliant, brilliant Italian. I challenge anyone from Ireland on the podcast to tell me a better Italian in the whole of Ireland. Rinuccini's fantastic. And Bottle of Red, celebrate your winners. And it depends then. Do you want to go mad? Go to Langton's. Plenty of good pubs in Kilkenny. Or do you want to maybe go back and, I'm not saying it won't be mad in the Lower Bagnall, but maybe a little bit more of a relaxed atmosphere. Lovely pints in the Bagnall, and James Cole
What's that
will
pub,
look after you.
What's that pub, Basil? You probably know the Millers, something the Millers, Matt the Millers, or
Matt the Millers is on the bridge. It's always very, very lively. The left bank can be quite
Great
good
spot
as well if you wanted to pop in there after Rinuccini's. But the shuttle bus from Gowran Park into Kilkenny, I think, is a must, and then get your taxi back to the Lower Bagnall, which is the home of horse racing, Ronan Groome. But anyway, that's the itinerary.
Basil, quickly, if anyone actually silly enough to take any of our advice, and if you take a picture of yourself at said establishment that's been mentioned, we'll throw it up on the show. Is that a good idea? We'll throw it up on the show after.
I think so. And if anyone has any other suggestions for boat race meetings, get down in below. Advice, because we have a big British listenership as well, Ronan. Plenty listening from all around the country in Ireland as well. So there'll be plenty coming from far and wide. And anyone has any suggestions, get it down in the comments. Enjoy that big question segment, Ronan, this week. Now it's time for the portfolio spotlight. And sticking with the southeast of Ireland, we're going down to Waterford. Conor Power has put up his 8 selections to date. Let's be clear about it. I think that's, well, certainly the way he jumps, he won't be going for the National Hunt Chase, so draw a line through that one. High Class Hero, I thought was quite good. He's 14-1 for the Albert Bartlett. Willie could have a strong hand once again in the Albert Bartlett. I do believe he's won it 3 times in the last 10 years with the likes of the Nice Guy. Of course, Monkfish won the Albert Bartlett as well, and Penn Hill. So he does well in this race, Ronan. High Class Hero, impressed, 14-1.
Probably a bit of a dark one, all right, yeah. Did most of his winning during the summer, so but his form it looks okay, so you probably want to see him again, maybe, but definitely alive anyway, yeah.
Absolutely. Galloping the Champ 3-1. I'd say a lot of people would say that's value now at this stage and has a very lively chance in the Gold Cup. My question would be, can he ever in his career put up a performance like he did at Leopardstown? Will he need to? But I think that was a career best, and I would back that he will never put up a performance equally as good as that or better in his career again. And that would be my one concern with Galloping the Champ. Faster Stow has beaten him on 2 occasions, and I think he's a massive, massive player and shouldn't be taken lightly in a Gold Cup. Ile Atlantique, Ronan Groome, for the Ballymore, 20-1. Yay or nay?
I think you're definitely live there. As I said, I was very impressed with him, even in defeat on Friday. So he's going to be a player wherever he goes. So I definitely wouldn't tear that ticket up.
Home by the Lee, I think that's very much against the wind there, 28-1. I can't see that.
The image of him being bet around the first circuit of Leopardstown there by poor JJ Slevin, I just can't get it out of my head.
Here. I do believe that
not good.
Home by the Lee won't be winning the Stairs hurdle though. Doyle-Sardinos 4-1. Given the Irish battalion in this race, Ronan Groome, and the quality of opposition that Doyle-Sardinos has been running against, I'm not saying she didn't do it impressively at Cheltenham. She's likely to get weight of some of the Irish mares in here, given the way that she's been campaigned by Fergal O'Brien. It could be a good piece of campaigning, but for me, of the short prices at the Cheltenham Festival at the moment, I'm taking her on Doyle-Sardinos. I've made that known. Brighter days ahead, only by night. Jade de Grugy, a massive player in that division. Fun. The list goes on. The Irish have a really strong hand, and you like the look to the west as well. I wonder, will we see her in a race like this?
Well, I'd like to see her again anyway. Some part to see she'll even would be running, but I'd suggest Fergal O'Brien and any Doyle-Sardinos backers will be looking at the Solarina novices hurdle from behind the couch, to be honest, because, as you said, all those mares could well, at least a good section of them could show up there and could end up being a good race. I think whatever comes out of that might end up being favoured here.
Conflated 4-1. That's a good bet for the cross country. But this is really interesting, Ronan, because I need to move on to week 8 selection. Romeo Coolio, the big talking horse, 10-1 now, or 10-1 when he put him in for the champion bumper. He's shortened up since. You've made your opinion known on bumpers on this show on many occasions. You did watch this race, and you did comment as well on Romeo Coolio. Player for the bumper? Thoughts?
Well, Conor, fair play, is obviously heard all the chat about this horse, but I just tweeted that because it was the most interesting thing at Fairyhouse on Saturday. What was a kind of quietish Saturday, but the chat about this horse, I've heard it before. I heard it in the pub the night before as well, and on track as well. And then, strange thing, because we were just looking at it in the press room, he started drifting out on Betfair. He was out to about 2.8 at one point, and but he's still strong enough on course. And you could just, going back into the parade ring after, you could feel the relief. The two lads that own the horse, I've interviewed them before, KTDA-Racing, two Daves are over from England, two sound lads. They were just like, it was like, oh my God, it's like they survived a near-death life scare just getting this horse over the line. And Gordon as well after, he was just talking, you just know when the trainer, how they feel about a horse from their body language. And Gordon is like, you could tell he was relieved. And this was going to... I would go as far to say as I've never seen Gordon as excited about a horse since Envoy Allen. And I think that's a big enough call. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he do. Obviously, he goes to the champion bumper, so see how he gets on there. That won't be the be-all and end-all, and shouldn't be either. If he's going to be a stayer, etc. He got it done there nicely. I
thought, considering they went a slow pace and how keen he was, and I actually thought he'd done it quite nicely. To be honest, my worry would be the experience. Jalan Dudari is going to have. I wouldn't
actually say he's got done that nicely, to be honest, because it was just a farce of a race. To be honest, it was just usual bumper shite. But he came through it anyway, and like the other horse has gone out like a light. So I don't know what the form is like, to be honest.
As we record in Ronan Groome, there's a horse called Maureen. I'm very, very interested to see how she gets on and how she progresses. Obviously, Relegate won the exact same bumper before going on to win the champion bumper for Willie Mullins.
But I think, Basil, the bumpers are gone so uncompetitive in Ireland. And this is not me with my own kind of agenda.
I'm not getting into it with you, because we'll be here for about another hour on top. So
one last point, Basil, I'm amazed at the affection people have for it. I put that tweet out there last week, get rid of the champion bumper, over Kevin Blake's piece that he wrote, which was actually quite a good piece. I'd advise anyone to read it. It's suggestions for the Cheltenham Festival going forward. He made a load of good points, and I said get rid of the bumper as well. The people writing back to me, I might as well have insulted their children. Like, it was I just don't understand the affection for the race, especially when this is jumps racing. But I meant to jump things.
Well, I was asked, you wouldn't want to take offence on Twitter. I was asked, was he on drugs, for suggesting that Spallan's Tower was a grade 1 animal, and I do think he is. So Take a pull. Take a pull. Right, we're moving on, Ronan Groome, in just a moment to our Week 9 selections. And yeah, anyone that hasn't, I suppose, updated their portfolio up as far as Week 8, make sure to play catch up. Get your selections down below. Catch up and obviously put in your selections for Week 9. We will be getting the 20 episodes in. And of course, on the eve of the Cheltenham Festival, the prize. We will be announcing a winner of the Road to Cheltenham Challenge to the healthiest looking portfolio in the comments below. So it's important to keep updating, and Ronan Groome will task him with that once again to pick a winner of the Road to Cheltenham Challenge for 2023-2024 on the eve of the Cheltenham Festival.
We'll both pick it, Basil. You can't put me under that sort of pressure. We'll both pick it. Okay,
we'll both pick it. So, but a trip to the a VIP trip to the Boylesports Irish Grand National, courtesy of our betting partner Boylesports. Right, Ronan Groome, it's Week 9 selections after this.
Gowran Park Racecourse, the premier racetrack in the southeast of Ireland, is located on the outskirts of Kilkenny City. Gowran is your #1 choice for corporate days out, stag and hen party events, and an overall great local racing experience. Known as the race that stops the county, the famous Champ.ie Chase 2024 takes place on Thursday the 25th of January.
In the finish of the Champ.ie Days, invitation only, and Ruby Walsh on the near side for Willie Mullins' 7th win of the race. Invitation only has beaten Alpha's Opus.
With packed crowds expected once again this January, you can book your early bird tickets online today. Visit gowranpark.ie online, click the link in the Champ.ie podcast video description, or scan the QR code on screen to purchase right now. Eddie and the team look forward to welcoming you all to Gowran Park Racecourse this winter.
Maybe a justified favouritism, but sharp object out in front, we're ready for John McConnell and Alex Harvey.
Western victory, Silver Long, never read the finishing order.
Yeah, so Week 9 selections, as always, Ronan Groome first on the tee from Centralstown, County Meath. Your Week 9 selection.
Yeah, if anyone was actually listening to me, and maybe probably not a lot during the podcast, they might have heard that, or maybe got the inclination that I was quite positive on Ile Atlantique, but not for the Ballymore, for the Supreme Novices Hurdle. I think this is a live possibility. I'm playing a bit of Willie Mullins bingo here, but with good reason, I think. After the race, Willie was obviously very complimentary of the race and how it worked out. My feeling of reading what Willie was saying was that Ile Atlantique might have been the best horse in the race. Just now, I'm not saying that he said that. I'm just saying that's what I felt he was kind of saying, but not saying it, if you know what I mean. He did all the donkey work from the front, which is what Willie did say. He did actually say that the horse did the donkey work, and he's just got caught by a cute ride from Daryl Jacob. And then he mentioned just towards the end of the conversation that maybe they go back for the Supreme. So that put it in my head that that'd be the type of race he went for. When I watched the race back, all I was impressed with how the Lauders was run. I think he basically did everything right from the front out and just got caught laid on by a strong stayer and a cute ridden horse. I think that was probably the best novice hurdle run in Ireland so far. Probably just ahead of what Caldwell Potter did there at Christmas in the Paddy Power in the Future Champions race there. And I just thought it was interesting when Mystical Power went in favourite after the Moscow Flyer on Sunday. Like, I would have the Lawlers 5 times better than that race. I think it was much more depth. You have Untubber, who was in that race, couldn't go to gallop in the straight. He was third in the Royal Bond, which is a race that's been working out really well since. Like, that puts that form to the sword. Firefox, who we all loved, and I still like, there's a question. Like, you could say maybe he wasn't at his best, but you could also say that maybe he was, or close to his best at least, and he's just been outclassed here. And as I said, they come 8 lengths clear. Lecky Watson, I just think it's good, strong form. And as we just mentioned before, I'll not repeat myself now, but his style in Supreme, strong staying, big travelling, cruising horse, go from the front, or at least prominently as well. I think he could take some pegging back. Yeah, look, I'm taking a chance of what race he's going in. It's Willie Mullins bingo, but I think you're getting more than enough juice in the price to allow for that. And just when you mentioned it, often Willie Mullins might change his mind 5 times, but often the first thing that hits his mind that you want to listen out to, and that was the first thing that he thought after the race. Made me go back for the Supreme. So 22 to 1 enhanced with Boyles. I think that's worth the play.
Well, in relation to Atlantique, I think stepping back in trip, Ronan Groome, I think is certainly likely, especially if it was really, really soft ground. I think at Cheltenham, if it was soft ground, could we see a classical dream type scenario that Paul Townend picks Atlantique, books him out? Ballyburn, we did mention that he showed loads of gears in his 2.5 mile maiden hurdle up at Leopardstown, and he could come back, and he's quite keen as well. So arguably, the two of these could go to the Supreme Novices Hurdle. You know, you could make a case for both of them, especially if, you know, you did get, if it wasn't, say, very quick ground. So, yeah, I think he jumped very, very well. He jumped like a 2-miler, didn't he, at Atlantique, in fairness. And, yeah, interesting case. 22 to 1, you're certainly getting a good price there. You did say...
You've come around a bit, Basil, from when I texted you that this morning. Can you tell the viewers what your initial reaction was?
My first reaction was, oh, my God, you are nuts. But the more I think about it, the more I watch back the race, it's the speed at which he jumped his flights. And I think the ground is a big, big factor to Atlantique. If he didn't get soft ground, I wouldn't be keen to back him in any race. That's why I think he's a little bit... You mentioned Banbridge earlier on in the show. I think this horse could be quite ground dependent. I think soft ground is important to him. So he's a big player whatever race he goes for, provided it's soft ground. But in a Supreme, the way he jumps, if they go this route, obviously you're playing a bit of bingo. I wouldn't put you off. 22 to 1 is a fair old price. And yeah. I'm also taking a novice hurdler, Ronan, for my selection. And it's a horse I've been banging on for quite some time about. And I'm taking on the British horse in the Mayor's novice hurdle, but I'm actually picking a horse in the Ballymore that's British trained. And I just think this horse ticks a lot of boxes. I think he's an absolute monster, to be honest. And I think it's now is the time to play him. It's Gidley Park, 14 to 1. And a lot of this is price related, Ronan, because I am a big fan of Ballyburn, and I would be fearful of him if he did go to the Ballymore. Looking down to the rest of the potential runners in the Ballymore, the Firefox bubble, I think, is Burslade Steel. I just wonder, would he be up to grade 1 quality against the likes of the opposition that he might face here? Mystical Power, I do think he would be interesting if they did step him up in trip, but I just love Gidley Park, and I think 14 to 1, this price has lots of scope to contract, and I think lining up in a Ballymore, a race, by the way, that the British haven't the best of records in. I think Willoughby Court was the last time a British horse won the Ballymore. That was back in 2017. Harry Fry, in actual fact, had the second on that occasion, which was Neon Wolf. He was all the rage, and he went off favourite for the race. But Gidley Park, I loved what he's done on the race course. He's unbeaten. He's 3 from 3, Ronan Groome, so far for Harry Fry. And what I loved about him under the penalty at Newbury last time, what I loved about him the most was the quicker they went. So his jumping improved as the race went on. The quicker they went, the better he jumped. And I do think in a better quality race, this horse is going to jump a lot better. He's a massive cruising speed. I don't think there's any need to step this horse up any further than 2.5 miles. So I think this is the route they're likely to go. He's loads of gears. I think he'll absolutely devour the hill. Interesting, when we had Harry Fry on the podcast, I pressed him on this horse, and he could not keep the smile off his face, Ronan. I thought it was really, really telling. It was, of all the interviews I've done this year on the Thursday show, it struck me when I pressed him on this horse. He was almost breaking out into a fit of laughter. And what he did say, Ronan, was he doesn't know how good he is. So I think there's so much more to come from him. He's going to trials weekend, obviously at the end of the month. And I would expect to go and take care of opposition there. I think he's the best British novice hurdler that we've seen this year. And given the fact that there's question marks of the Mullins horses here, where they're going to go, Supreme or Ballymore, I think this horse will go to the Ballymore. And I think he'll absolutely devour the hill. I think he's a real quality animal by walking the park as well. We've given that sire plenty of mentions on the last 2 shows. So, yeah, I think he's very, very good. And 14 to 1, Ronan. I've never really asked your opinion on this horse, but what do you make of that sort of a price and selection?
No, I was I did remember talking about him with you before. You mentioned him as you put him up as we were rating one of the rated horses that week. He won after was it Newbury? He won it. I liked him. Yeah, I was going to ask you what's the plan with him to run, but obviously he's going to Trials Day.
He is, and just in relation to obviously Ballyburn, Eel Atlantique, Mystical Power, Ballyburn. On a review show at the end of last season, we both put up a horse for the Cheltenham Festival the following season, and I said Ballyburn for the Ballymore. I would be happy enough at this point in time to take him on in a Ballymore, given how keen he races early in the race. He obviously has that low head carriage. I'd much prefer to see him running a Supreme, and I'd be very tempted to back him in a Supreme. Eel Atlantique, I think, is ground dependent. As mentioned, Firefox, I think, is bubble burst there. And you come down the list, and I think one of the key stats over the past couple of years is it pays to follow horses who are up there towards the front of the betting in a Ballymore. This will be the leading British contender, and 14-1, I'm willing to take the chance. I think that's more than fair at this point in time with our partners, Boylesports. So, as always, head over to the Boylesports website if you do fancy following us in on our selections. Obviously, go to the National Hunt section of the page, go to the Champ.ie price boosts and avail of those price boosts if you want to follow us in. Anything else to mention, Roland? You're obviously heading off skiing next week, so you won't be on this show. We have a lively replacement once again for you. You go skiing every single January, but you will send your selections in. I'm holding you to that, regardless whether you're on the mountains or not.
Oh yeah, I might be a dodgy selection. Well, probably all my selections are dodgy, but I'll send something to you from the top of the Austrian Alps.
Let's have a look at our selections today before we do close up the episode, Roland. Allegory, the Vassy, Gaelic Warrior, Look to the West, Firefox, Gentleman's Game, Mighty Band of Factified, Three Car Bragg, and Eel Atlantique. A couple of these have taken a hit. Yeah, not great now. Firefox, I thought, was one of my good ones, and possibly not as much anymore. I'm slightly worried about Gaelic Warrior as well, to be honest. A lot of talk about the direction he's going. I think he could still go and win well, but I don't know. A few of them, Mighty Bandit, probably not there. Factified, I like a lot. I like my last three, I have to say. I think they're solid, but maybe they haven't had a chance to run yet. So since I put them up, they're still alive, I suppose. But work to be done. Yeah, I think my first three there, Will Mount for the Supreme, Mr. Policeman, and Hackadoo the Purtis obviously out for the season, so she's definitely ruled out. But the front two, very much on recovery missions. And after that, I'm quite happy at this point in time. So lots more to play. Make sure to get your selections in for week number 9. And we're just 8 weeks rolling tomorrow to the Cheltenham Festival. See you next. We'll see you when you get back from the Alps.